You are listening to the Game Like Training Podcast, where we talk about golf practice, golf learning, golf psychology, the PGA Tour, college golf, and all things golf. On this show, we're going to be sharing our thoughts, our beliefs, and different strategies, all with one goal in mind of helping coaches teach better or golfers play better. Today, I am joined by Iain Highfield and our special guest, Zach Parker. Iain, I'm going to let you introduce Zach because I know you're going to do a badass job. I'm looking forward to this.
Zach, you were at the Gary Gilchrist Golf Academy. Myself, Matthew, joined you at the Gary Gilchrist Golf Academy. You were the director of golf. Then we founded the Bishopsgate Golf Academy, where Arick came and got a job. Arick moved to IJGA. I also was part-time at IJGA. And you stayed at Bishopsgate for a little bit longer, and now you've taken the leap and gone out on your own.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a decade that I've been in junior golf academies, and I've had the privilege of running some of those junior golf academies and being in a position where we had the opportunity to build an incredible team of coaches. And I've just been so fortunate, but I'm extremely excited to step out on my own and, do my own thing in terms of continuing to coach the players that I coach and find other players that want an opportunity to get better. And this opportunity with GravityFit is just something that really couples well with what I'm trying to do in my own coaching.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we've coached together. We had a couple of really good college players previously that we've worked with. And today, keeping the theme going that we've had the last two podcasts, myself and Arick talked about how professionals were practicing at the Alfred Dunhill. We then reviewed social media and talked about some of the stuff that professional golfers have put out there about how they practice. So keeping that theme going of how golfers should and could practice. We had a good college player with us today from South Carolina. And we want to spend about 10 minutes just talking about what we did with this player, how we did it, and why we did it that way. We all know each other very well. We all collaboratively coach because of our background in the junior golf academy industry. And it was great again to have the chance to coach with you today. So if you preface Teddy a little bit, talk about your relationship with him, and then I guess basically what we did today, and we can all chip in and throw some stuff about why this is in line with the learning sciences and why it helps players get better, sometimes faster, sometimes get better and retain and transfer skills and take them onto the golf course.
Well, I think coaching alongside of you guys allows us to make sure that the approach isn't just one-dimensional. And I think today really proved that. Teddy's, we've had the privilege of coaching Teddy for almost 2.5 years now together. And the one thing about Teddy is it's never just one piece. It's not the fact that, his lead wrist needs to ulnar deviate or the fact that his putter needs to be more square at impact. It's both his psychological abilities that need to change as well as his physiological abilities. And I think today, the way that we set up the circuit allowed Teddy to experience all aspects of his training and then clearly see the low-hanging fruit. And today, we started out thinking it was going to be maybe in my domain. And what we came to find out is the actual one component to the training that was just a placeholder to create spacing was actually where we decided to make the biggest intervention. So that would never have happened if we weren't coaching together.
So, Arick, Zach, you were there before me. I got off a flight.
Yep.
Came straight there. Was a little bit late. So, just keep it simple. What did you see in Teddy's game when you did that initial analysis?
Sure. So we use TrackMan, we use video. Arick and I chatted, but Teddy's club face was opening in the transition and he was getting narrow. So we talked about helping him create a little bit of width by changing his lead wrist structure. And then as a result of that, he started to explain how he felt stronger and better as a result of us doing something away from the ball, which was using GravityFit to improve his posture. And then we built a circuit to expose his weaknesses. So we had 3 balls where he had to do the drill, clearly focusing on that lead wrist. After 3 successful reps, he had to go make a 6-foot putt. If he made the putt, he moved on to the next station. If he didn't, he repeated the first station. The second station was just using the GravityFit to create a postural awareness, as well as to create some engagement of not only his upper body, but also into the pelvic floor. And after 3 successful reps of that, he then went and had to make a 6-foot putt. If he made it, he then went to the final station, which was 120 to 140 yards. He had to land 2 out of 3 balls inside of the sand pits on your guys' range. And if he made those 2 out of 3 successful, he had to make a 6-foot putt to complete it at the end. And each time, because of the spacing, he was more deliberate with each learning trial. We can see in some of this footage that hopefully you guys link up, the frustration that happened leading to the putting green and coming back from the putting green started to have a negative effect on, reps 2-3 minutes in the future.
So, yeah, you covered there what we wanted to achieve. A bit over my head with the wrist and whatever else. You then talked about how we were going to achieve that with the practice circuit. So the goal of the practice circuit is to what? Why did we put it in a circuit? If you wanted to change something with his lead wrist, why didn't you just ask him to hit 35 balls in a row with his wrist at a certain position? Why did you do it in the way that you did it?
Well, I know your question is because you do know the answer, but the reason is that I wanted it to actually change. I didn't want his lead wrist just to look good today. I wanted his lead wrist to look good in 2 weeks when he's in Hawaii competing for the University of South Carolina. So I tried to give him the opportunity to learn the skill and then have to relearn the skill as many times as possible in the time of the circuit.
Awesome.
If I can jump in and say one thing. So I've only heard you guys talk about Teddy before. This is the first time that I've met him in person. And obviously I've kind of listened in on conversations Ian's had with him over the phone and whatnot. So I felt like I knew him a little bit, but I've never watched him play. I've never watched him train. And the way that the circuit was set up, I felt like I got to know him very quickly and saw the frustration. It was pretty quick and apparent to me that, there are areas, like I would expect to see those reactions if he was playing in competition and it was in a practice environment.
Sure.
So it was, I could tell the way it was structured, obviously was optimal for him because he was getting frustrated by missing the putts and he was carrying it into the drills and he was starting to, fail a little bit more here and there. And then Ian kind of had to step in and provide, some insight for him and an intervention of sorts. But it was just so cool for me to see it set up that way, to get to feel like I was, watching him in a tournament and his body language, the things he was saying out loud, some words that we can't share. It was really well done. It really was.
So yeah, as we said, from the way that the players practiced at the Alfred Dunhill, very specific to their needs. Yeah. So a credit to you guys, the analysis you did on Teddy and then the circuit that you built was very specific to his needs as an individual. And then, as we talked about last week about the British Masters, Luke Donald, the circuit contained variability, the circuit contained spacing, and then challenge. And the challenge, I thought it was optimal for Teddy. I thought he would pass relatively straightforward. I thought the last station, hitting the shots into the bunkers, getting 2 out of 3, I thought that was a very high challenge point. I thought the rest of the circuit was pretty straightforward. But once he missed one 6-footer, and then he had to start at the first station again, and then he missed the 6-footer again. The expletives that will get Ramel to bleep out started to come out, and that's his tendency in tournaments. Yeah. So all of a sudden, in a circuit where really the focus was the lead wrist and posture with GravityFit, now we're starting to shift and talk about inoculating the stress response. And from knowing Teddy, that's his biggest area for development for me. He doesn't see putting as just a different individual task each time. If he misses 1 or 2, he starts to carry the baggage and he misses 3, 4, 5, 6. So today, in the same circuit, while he was working on technical things, there was a performance element that created stress, and then we had to step in and give strategies to help him inoculate the stress response. But not only were we giving them, he was actively discovering them. We were letting him fail for a long time before we stepped in. And, you know, from working with me, I can wait quite a long time before I will step in. I don't want to become a crutch for a student. I want them to try and solve it first. So, yeah, I thought the circuit was really good. And then, obviously, we took it to the golf course. So explain that a little bit more, Zach. Explain what we did on the golf course.
Yeah, well, I think before we went to the golf course, one of the barometers that I use to see if the circuit is actually effective is the fact that Teddy wouldn't allow us to leave for lunch. And it was 2 o'clock already, and he drove here at 5 a.m. So he was obviously hungry, but he wouldn't leave until he got it done. So there was this sense of something that I started, I'm going to finish. And like you said, inoculating the stress response is what Teddy needs. And just like he starts a tournament round, he needs to finish it. Regardless of if he makes 3 birdies on the first 3 holes or 3 bogeys, he needs to show the grit and resilience that he did today in that circuit. So that was number 1. And that laid the foundation for when we went to the golf course. It wasn't about, oh, how's my lead wrist or how's my rotation? It was about everything. It was, am I inoculating the stress response? Am I engaging in the target? And is my technique changing or transferring to the golf course? And that's what really was cool. We went out there and we didn't have a clear plan of what we were going to do. We allowed Teddy to transfer those feelings, and then he created his optimal environment on the course.
Yeah, we basically, the only goal was for him to talk his routine out loud, to give post-shot reflection, to give his pre-shot planning. And what we started to find was actually Teddy's an exceptionally good iron player. And in his irons, he was very, very connected to the target. There was a narrow external focus, and it was literally see it, feel it, trust it in some respects to take it from the movie. What's it called? 7 Days in Utopia, the golf movie. But then with putting, it was kind of analyze it, not see it, think about it, untrust it. So we saw that there was this bright spot in his routine on iron play of really engaged target focus. So we asked him to evolve that in his putting. That's what we challenged him to do out on the golf course, and he did. We made him put from everywhere, looking at the hole, and he wasn't even actually allowed to look at the ball. Once he set foot into the putt, he was setting up very imperfectly, but reacting to the target more. And this led to a good process goal. And then when we finally went into the on-course challenge, where you make par to move to the next hole, birdie skip 1, bogey you move back to the previous hole, and you've got to get around 9 holes. When we finally went to that, he had a clear process that he was going to follow for putting, which helps him relax, which in turn helps inoculate the stress response. So there was this big circle all the way around, and he putted really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think he even said to us on the 7th hole, he called it. It was like a downhill 20-footer that was probably moving, 18 inches. And he said, this one's for you guys. And the difference in the energy and the focus when he walked into that putt, then one of these ones that we're going to be able to dub in here when he doesn't even hit the hole from 6 feet, or he runs it 5 feet by from 6 feet. It's just, today wasn't about necessarily doing anything except awakening in Teddy what he has to do to perform better. And it's not just one thing. It's not come and get an hour lesson and I'm going to fix your swing, or Iain's going to tell you to, look above the horizon and like all of a sudden birdies just fall out of the sky. Like there is actually a plan. And the plan is, in my opinion, what we do a really good job of is creating an environment for the player to buy into our plan, which is ultimately the plan they determine is theirs.
Yeah.
They drive the ship and we just happen to have the opportunity to be on board.
Definitely a player-centric approach. He was put in the center. The plan was built around his needs. It involved spacing, variability, and challenge. It then involved us helping him to deal with the stresses and his tendencies coming out. And by the end, playing some great golf on the golf course with really very little tweak. The things that he transferred to the golf course were target focus in putting, and he was on his practice swing feeling the wrist.
Yeah.
And he used GravityFit in his warm-up
Yeah.
to awaken up his posture. So they were his choices.
Yeah.
You guys analysed him, talked, set up this circuit, and then the learnings that he took from that were those three things, which hopefully now will become part of his processes before he plays and while he plays in tournaments. So full circle.
He did make a cool comment to me when we were heading out to the golf course for the first time around after doing the circuit. He's like, man, that's the most fun I've had in training in a long time. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that's cool, because he did say to me, he goes, when I go back, the guys are going to think I'm crazy. But then he looked at me and he said, but that's what I want. And I think that's what great players want. They're willing to look different. And look, spacing and variability are an inconvenience to your training, but they're a huge asset to your future performance. It's just a question of, do you want to look cool in practice? Do you want to do the things that everyone's done for 20 years? Or do you actually want to get better at golf?
Yeah, I mean, it's inconvenient to learn. It takes effort. You have to create cognitive stress.
For sure.
when you have to make your actions match what your goals are. And so if he wants to play at the highest level, then he can't go about doing things the easy way, the convenient way.
Yeah.
So standing on the range, beating balls is easy and convenient.
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
like me hitting snooze 20 times in the morning. It's easy and convenient.
It's funny that you guys got that exceptional feedback, and we'll wrap the podcast up on this note, because the only feedback I got from him when I started pressing him on the issue of his mental game was that.
Yeah, no,
he got so angry. So I'm glad he was nice to you guys, because that was the main
I had some
communication
good
I got.
conversations with him. Yeah, it was good.
But I think that speaks to another point though, Iain. Like, because we have that relationship, we can push him to the point of wanting to break his driver, or wanting to kick the ball across the green, or wanting to scream.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, challenge point is key. And if it was easy for Teddy, cool. He fed his ego and he looked great and he felt great, but he didn't get better. So I was happy that he gave you the finger and then went to the side and said to Arick, hey, this is awesome. Because if it wasn't awesome, he might have told us it was awesome just to make us feel good.
Yeah.
But the fact that he complained about it lets us know that he's actually going to do it and he's actually going to get better.
Yeah, he saw the value in it.
Yeah.
For sure.
It was fun, guys. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many more.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the home away from home.
Cool. Well, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Nice to have you on, Zach, obviously. So this is going to be on SoundCloud. If you want to subscribe, if you haven't, stay up to date, follow us. You can subscribe to the email list by visiting the website, gltgolf.com. We are also on all social media platforms except for Snapchat. Iain hasn't got that up and running. I think he'd also be pretty inappropriate if we did have one.
I'm way too old for Snapchat.
But we have Instagram, Twitter. We're also on YouTube. This will be posted on YouTube as well.
You guys are on a couple other applications. You want to share those, or? Oh, sorry. Moving on.
No,
Anyways.
just Instagram.
Okay.
Twitter.
Just Instagram
LinkedIn.
and Twitter.
I would share this. If you listen to this podcast, please listen to the previous two that are all about golf practice, and not just what you have to do, but how you practice to achieve what it is you want to change in your game. That's key for me. So watch this if you've enjoyed it. Plenty of good information in the Alfred Dunhill and the British Masters podcast too.
Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, if they have any questions or just want to connect with you, do you want to share kind of possible ways that they can do that?
Sure. I mean, I'm on Instagram, Zach Parker Golf. You can go to zachparkergolf.com, or you can look for me on any platform except for Snapchat. Maybe it's just to be your guys' friends. That's what we have to do. Or you can always find us on We Are GravityFit on Instagram or gravityfit.com. But really, guys, an honor to sit here on the couch with you. And thanks for always helping me get better at coaching. But certainly thanks to everybody on the other side of the camera. For someone that's consumed your content for a while, it's really great to see you guys being willing to be vulnerable and sit here and help everybody in the industry get better. So thanks for that.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks for your
it.
time. Always learn something from you, man.
No.
Thanks for coming out.
Cheers.
Cheers.